Chapter 7, Leadership Behavior. Introduction. Studies of leadership behavior, the leadership pipeline, community leadership, assessing leadership behaviors, multi-rater feedback instruments, summary. The truth of the matter is that you always know the right thing to do. The hard part is doing it. Norman Schwarzkopf, former United States Army General. He was the Army General that was responsible for leading the armed forces during the United States Desert Storm War back in the early 90s. Studies of leadership behavior. Many people in positions of authority either cannot build or motivate teams or do not recognize the negative impact of their behavior on people who work for them. Leadership behaviors are a function of intelligence, personality traits, emotional intelligence, values, attitudes, interests, knowledge, and experience. Leaders learn and discern the most appropriate and effective behaviors over a period of time. Individual differences, followers, and situation variables play a pivotal role in a leader's action. So you see, there's a lot of things that go into making a good leader, and a lot of things is one of the reasons why most people, by the time they've reached adulthood and been working 10 to 15 years, have seen their fair share of bad leaders. Because these traits that they mentioned, this function, that personality traits, emotional intelligence, values, attitudes, interests, knowledge, and experience, somewhere in there they're lacking one or more of those. The building blocks of skills. So we look at the building blocks of skills. We look at this behavior, skills, competencies, knowledge, experience, intelligence, personality traits, which we've seen this in previous chapters. What you also see now is off to the side, the things that go into the behavior, skills, and competencies. Some of the things right there you see listed are what goes in it to try to make things better at those top three levels. The early studies. Ohio State University developed the Leader Behavioral Description Questionnaire and identified the following independent dimensions. So we see consideration. How friendly and supportive a leader is towards subordinates. Initiating structure. How much a leader emphasizes meeting work goals and accomplishing tasks. Other leadership questionnaires created by Ohio State University. Supervisory Behavioral Description Questionnaire. Leadership Opinion. So you see, this has been going back for early studies. People understood that, there was a direct correlation between groups and teams not being successful, organizations not being successful because of leadership. So they wanted to understand not only what was good leadership, what was bad. University of Michigan identified 4 categories of leadership behaviors that contribute to effective group performance. Leader support, interaction facilitation, goal emphasis, and work facilitation. Goal emphasis and work facilitation are job-centered dimensions, similar to that of the LBDQ, initiating structured behavior. Leadership support and interaction facilitation are employee-centered dimensions, similar to the other consideration dimensions. So that we saw one from Ohio State, now we see one from the University of Michigan. So we see job-centered, employee-centered behaviors are at the opposite ends of a single continuum of leadership. So develop the survey of organizations questionnaire to assess the degree to which leaders exhibit these 4 dimensions of leadership behaviors. Findings of University of Michigan, Ohio State suggest that no universal set of leader behaviors is always associated with leadership success. So it's different. And I'll give you an example. You can have a leader who may be deficient in 1 or 2 areas that was previously mentioned, but they may be working in a capacity in a situation where they don't need those. So the things that they need, they're actually strong in. So everything is going to be different. Nothing is going to be similar. If you took 2 people who are at the same job level, 2 different organizations, the things that they would need to be strong in would be totally different, possibly. The grid profiles leaders' behavior on 2 dimensions: concerns for people and concerns for production. Concern reflects how leaders' underlying assumptions about people at work and the importance of the bottom line affect leadership style. Leaders get scores ranging from 1 to 9 on both concern for people and concern for production, depending on their response to a leadership questionnaire. The most effective leaders are said to have high concern for both people and production. So when I've seen good leaders, this is what I saw too. They had high concern for the people and their production and or the things that they were doing. So as we look at the leadership grid, so we look at the high, look at the left, we see high, at the very bottom, we see low. So you see country club management, team management. Up here at the top, you see improvised management and authority compliance management. And so as we look at the country club, thoughtful attention to the needs of people for satisfying relationships leads to a comfortable, friendly organization atmosphere and work tempo. Team management. Work accomplished is from committed people. Interdependence through a common stake and organizational purpose leads to relationships of trust and respect. So go down here. Now you see in the middle right there, you see middle of the road management. Adequate organizational performance is possible through balancing the necessity to get work out while maintaining morale of people with a satisfactory level. Now you see low, improvise. Exertion of minimal effort to get required work done is appropriate to sustain organizational. Authority compliance management. Efficiency in operations results from arranging conditions of work such as the way the human elements interfere to a minimal degree. So when you read this, it's self-explanatory why you would actually want to be up here at the top where it's high. Competency models. Describe the behaviors and skills needed for organizational success. All organizational company models fall into one of the following categories: interpersonal skills, leadership skills, business skills. So when you look at interpersonal skills, this is the skills of the individual person. Intrapersonal is that of the person just by themselves. Interpersonal skill is that involving two or more people. Leadership skills is what someone would convey is when they're actually leading or managing a group of people. Business skills is when you're actually working on something within an organization, let's say a project, and you're actually trying to figure out how to make something more efficient, or how does something make more cost effective, make a process run smoother. That's your business skills. The Hogan and the Warrenfeld domain model of leadership allows people to see connections between seemingly different organizational competency models, makes predictions about the ease or difficulty of changing leadership behaviors and skills, points out what behaviors leaders must exhibit to build teams and get results through organizations. So again, it's look about trying to figure out what makes the good leaders tick. What is it they have that the bad leaders don't have? And that's what these competency models are getting into. So leadership model. So I'm not going to read through all of this. I'm going to let you go ahead and read through this, pause, and read through each one of these. Pause and read through each one. The leadership pipeline model explains where leaders should spend their time, what should they be focusing on, and what they should be letting go, and the types of behaviors they need to exhibit as they move from first line supervisor to functional manager or to CEO. Provides a roadmap for individuals wanting to occupy top leadership positions in the organization. Provides potential explanation for why some people fail to advance. So listen to me and listen to me good on this. Just because somebody is a good employee does not mean that they're going to make a good first line supervisor. Because somebody's a good first line supervisor doesn't mean they're going to make a good mid-level. Because somebody's good mid-level doesn't mean that they're going to be a good senior leader. Because somebody's a good senior leader doesn't mean they're going to make a good executive. What I'm saying is people have skill sets, and sometimes their skills can only take them so far. So pause and read through, and you're going to see what they're saying is competency requirements for each individual group that I just mentioned. Pause and read through. Same here. Pause and read through. Pause and read through. The leadership pipeline model. Implications. People who fail to demonstrate the competencies, work values, and time applications commensurate with their commensurate with their positions will struggle with building teams and getting results through others. So you see, people who fail to demonstrate certain competencies and work values in time, they will struggle with building teams. Intelligence and certain personality traits have been found to improve the odds of getting promoted and successfully transition to new leadership levels. It is critically important that organizations offer onboarding programs to help external hires transition into new roles. So again, when people look at this, you look at some of these, when they have some personality traits, some personality traits that they show up, it shows you that these people are probably not going to be good at building teams. It's also critical organizations offer onboarding programs to help external hires transition into new roles. Why? Because external, if you only are actually promoted from within, the one thing that you most likely don't get is new ideas and concepts and new ways of doing things. Yes, it's good to promote within, but you must also have ways to bring some new blood in, so to speak. People who skip organizational levels often turn out to be ineffective leaders. So if you have people who are actually in the organization and they go from a first line manager and they skip mid level and go to a senior level, there's a high probability that person's going to be ineffective because they haven't gone through the process. It's literally like saying, and I'll use a sports analogy here. Well, because somebody played high school basketball and they skip college and go to the pros. Well, you can do that now after 1 year. The problem is some people, quite a few of them fail because they don't go through that maturation process of getting that experience to grow and mature and learn things at the college level. Acquisitions often result in people being assigned to positions lower in the leadership pipeline. So when you bring people in, you put them in, a lot of times they end up getting lower in the pipeline, which means they got to work doubly hard to try to advance. Many leaders operate at a level that is 1 or 2 lower than the appropriate for their positions, which has deleterious effects across the team and the organization led by them. So realistically, you're not utilizing your talent when you do that. It's like, and I can tell you this, a lot of times those people don't stay. They'll actually leave an organization because they're actually working way under their capability. Community leadership. Process of building a team of volunteers to accomplish an important community outcome. Represent an alternative conceptualization of leadership behavior. Community leaders do not have any position power and have fewer resources and rewards. So this is going to be folks who will be like activists in your neighborhoods and communities who are doing things to try to make things better. Remember, that's not an official title. That's something that they're in. And they have to get people to want to help and inspire and motivate those folks to do things. Leadership competencies required to successfully drive community change efforts. Framing, helping a group or community recognize and define its opportunities and issues in ways that result in effective action. They got to get people to understand, what's important, what's needed. Not what's needed, what they think is needed, but what do the community think is needed, and get them to buy into that. Building social capital, developing and maintaining relationships that enable people to work together in the community. They're good at getting people to come together, not only to come together, but also to work together. Mobilization, engaging in critical mass to take action and achieve a specific outcome. Okay, how do you get these people out here? Well, mobilization is attracting people. So if you're going to get people to work together and do these things, you got to be good at actually getting people to come to your event or come out to hear you speak. So when we look at the components of the community leadership, we see strengthened community at the center. Okay, what has to happen? We have to have framing. You have to have mobilization, social capital, the things that we just mentioned, as I just read off and we talked about. When you put those 3 things together, you get a strengthened community. What you cannot get is a strengthened community if you actually have one of those that's not working properly. So assessing leadership behaviors, multi-rater feedback instruments. You have the 360, you have the multi-rater, and you have feedback tools that show the direct reports, peers, superiors can provide different concepts of behavior. Realistically, what these do, and I'll go to the next page here, I'll tell you exactly what they do, show you. So what they do with the 360 is when you have getting feedback from people who are above you, people on your level and below you. And you take that information and you compile it to get results and to find out, let people tell you, for if Mary is a leader. So now we're getting information from Mary's boss, we're getting information from Mary's peers, and we're getting information from people that work below Mary to try to figure out what type of leader they think Mary is. Now, of course, you're going to ask Mary, what does she think too? So getting this feedback on these questionnaires. Now, once they come in, what they'll do is they'll get them and they'll come in, and usually someone like HR or a trainer or a coach or somebody will review this. Now, the people send them in, they get to send them in anonymously. Now, the Mary gets to select and send them out to folks, but Mary doesn't know what people said when they come in. Only the person who's actually debriefing that before they meet with Mary will. So here's what I was talking about. You see the boss at the top, peers one side, self on the other side, direct reports. That's why they call it 360 degrees feedback, because it goes all the way around. And you want to look at see what all of that. I want to see what Mary thinks about herself. I want to see what the boss thinks about Mary. I want to see what the peers think about Mary. And I want to hear what the direct reports say about Mary. And find out, a lot of times you find out what Mary thinks of herself is not what others think. But also, too, when you get that, now you can sit down with Mary, and now you got some things that you can help her work on. So here's the feedback. So this is what it would look like. When everybody gets, the boss, Mary, the peers, the direct reports, how they get to rate Mary in these categories. Summary. There does not appear to be a universal set of leadership behaviors that guarantee success across many or all situations. Values and attributes play critical roles in how leaders go about engaging followers, building teams, and achieving results through others. Organizational levels and competency models can help leaders determine the specific types of behaviors required to build teams and get results through others for the position in question. 360 degrees feedback can give leaders insight into whether they need to do anything differently to engage in followers, build stronger teams, or get better results through others. That concludes this chapter.